Well, it is fabulous to have you with us today on this remarkable stage. First of all, let's just start with big picture landscape before you drill down. So where do each of you see the first real breakout as generative media matures? Is it entertainment? Is it news? Is it creator IP, storytelling? Or perhaps it's something that we haven't even started watching yet? What do you say?
Well, good morning. I would say all of the above. We're already seeing AI, whether it be text or video, imagery, be used in every single application that you just mentioned. So we're here and excited to be along for the ride.
Yeah, I think we've already seen it. We've worked on bits of it with BRAHMA AI. We've implemented in high-end films. We're kind of scaling it to enterprise. So it's happening, and there will only be more of it very soon.
Yeah, I think in the enterprise, people are still communicating largely like it's the 1990s. So there's a lot of text being produced and read. And I think what we found is that a lot of businesses want to replace that text with video, but it's very hard to do that with traditional means of production because it's very expensive. It takes a lot of time. And so I think what we found for us was that AI video was a really good way of moving away from video moving from text into video, because it's a much more engaging format. But I think beyond that, I think there's this kind of new opportunity. When we have new technologies, it enables us to create new experiences. And I think AI video will lead to video changing as a format. So if we think of like video today, we watch the same content. It's kind of personalized for us on our feed, but it's essentially the same type of content. And I think what AI video will ultimately lead to is this world where we have much more personalized and interactive experiences to what we have today.
And, if we look culturally for a moment, we talk about these younger, always-on audiences, right? How are they sort of redefining what relevance looks like, I suppose, as far as, traversing borders?
Yeah, I mean, everything is immediate these days, and through content recommendation, everything has become much more tailored to whoever is receiving and consuming the content. So I think there's only going to be a much more expectation to make everything culturally relevant. Borders kind of disappear. It's more the identity, the intent of the content. But when it's localized and at scale, it will also be personalized at that point. So if we can, it's happening. We're working on localizing large movies fully immersively into culturally relevant local experiences for people, and that's what people are going to be expecting, and they won't expect anything less. So that's how it goes.
Can you give us an example of what we're working on in that space?
Yes, so BRAHMA AI is a part of the DNEC group, which is producing a massive movie talking about the tale of Ram, the Ramayana, the Indian story. This is shot in Hindi, the movie, but we're fully localizing that. So it will release as a native English spoken movie and a couple of other languages as well. So every geography can consume that story in their own context. And it's so the story, it allows us to tell the story and for it to be perceived around the world globally, without boundaries. Yeah.
So Brian, AI may democratize creation, right? But not distribution. So what do you think? Are we actually empowering more voices, or are we just simply flooding the stage with, the same hands still controlling the same microphone?
For sure. I think you're seeing a little bit of both. We're definitely seeing a lot of new entrants into the creation bucket, right? You have a lot of this newfound prompt engineer role that you're seeing emerge, where people can create, videos and movies with just, typing in a couple of words. But I would generally put that all under the creation bucket, right? These are people that are creating content, whether it's done via video camera or via prompt. So we are seeing that increase. We are seeing the enterprises and the institutional media companies and Hollywood studios use these tools to help, it decrease their budgets, push their creativity a bit further. So I think you're seeing both. But to go back to your question around distribution, I think that's a really important part in this entire discussion, because while AI is everywhere, Sora, everybody can go and create any video that they want in a moment's notice. The question becomes, what does distribution look like? Are audiences okay with that continuing to just get AI videos? Or do they want only real videos? Or are they okay with a little bit of both, as long as it's clearly disclosed? I think we're seeing a lot of that tension happen right now. Even this morning, scrolling Instagram, you see something that kind of looks a little fishy, and the comment threads are all about, is this AI? Is it not? And you wonder, so I think we're seeing that tension. Ultimately, over time, what we're going to see is that whether it's a creator, a media company, a movie, or, whatever the outlet is, if they are using AI, is it being done so in a way that respects the trust and the relationship that they have with that audience and they want to foster? Or is it truly something like, this is AI, it's a joke, it's wacky, here we go? I think we're going to see that tension exist, and audiences are going to vote with their time spent. Do they want to spend time on a platform where it is just all AI crap, right? AI slop? Or is it a place where they're okay with seeing this fantasy land? So I think the jury's still out, but that tension is something that I'm definitely keeping my eye on.
Absolutely, we're definitely.
To that point, I just want to add, I think it's extremely important that we, as the content becomes more real and more futuristic and indistinguishable from reality, that we make sure that the right kind of metadata goes into the content and the right labeling is happening. Because to your point, you look at something today, it's still not enforced, it's still not clear. Is it real? Is it not real? So it's up to all of us working on distribution to ensure that, right?
Of course, but you're good people. There are nefarious influencers out there who have absolutely no interest whatsoever in saying it how it is. They'd much rather just pull the wool over the eyes of the general public, which of course is a huge danger, I think.
It's funny, yesterday, Alexis Ohanian, who is the co-founder of Reddit, was talking about the dead internet theory, which is this whole concept that anywhere from 20 to 50% of all of the comments that you see on social media are fake or from bot accounts. And you saw even a couple of weeks ago when X, formerly Twitter, rolled out the feature where you could see where an account was based in and see the amount of, I'd say that the MAGA voices on the platform coming from outside of the United States were an exact, example of what you're talking to. And I think that it goes back to the point I was making around, trust with the audience. I would argue that a lot of these accounts, if you are a more sophisticated or informed media consumer, you could probably spot that. And I think you saw a lot of, voices come out being like, I told you so. So I think it is important that, you're seeing it out there. And I think hopefully the market in the form of, audience time spent will ultimately, the best accounts and the most interesting will rise to the top.
I guess to this point, it's also up to the platforms where ultimately distribution happens to do their due diligence on the content. And again, everything is real time. Everything airs real time. You need real time assessment of content to be able to label it. That's a very good point here.
Which brings me on to something that I wanted to talk to you about, Alex, because you said that the real story isn't about AI in text. It's about AI in video, right? But deepfake legislation is way behind where it probably should be. It's scrambling to catch up with outright bans in the UK as well. But which risks feel the most real to you?
Yeah, I actually agree with Brian. Like the next 2 years are going to be messy. I mean, we've seen kind of progress in the UK with deepfake explicit content being banned. In the US, there's the No Fakes Act, which kind of protects people from their likeness and their voice being cloned without their consent. But I do think that in the end, it goes back to trust. And there was this kind of very interesting survey that was done that asked people to look at content, and they kind of, they were asked how they feel about it. And then they told people this is made with AI. And then there's a significant drop in the sort of emotional reaction once people were told this was AI made. And I think we have a lot of work to do to sort of build that kind of trust with people. Because a lot of times, to your point, just because it's AI generated doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that you've created content with another tool. When you're in a cinema and you're watching a movie, you never, or the vast majority of people don't think, which bit of this is green screen, which bit of this is real. But with AI, right now, we're in this kind of messy reality where people sort of have a low level of trust in it, and therefore they have this kind of negative reaction especially when they're told it's been generated with AI. So I think trust is really important, and we need to do a better job on that. And obviously, regulation will help a bit with that, but it's not like a silver bullet, basically.
Now, here you come from the Hollywood side of things. How do we protect, I suppose, the human pulse in all of this? Because, creatives, they're all about passion and soul and real human emotions. Is that just being, I was going to say slowly eroded out of the picture, but it's not that slow, is it?
No. I mean, I don't think we're anywhere near any place, and God knows if we will get there or not, where this process the soul is completely pulled out of the process. I don't think it will, but the pulse is shifting. I think so. Where there was a lot of manual labor and time-consuming processes in content creation, these are getting exponentially sped up, which I think allows creativity to be more kind of implemented on steroids, if you like, right? It opens up. For example, we worked on a project with Bob Zemeckis and Tom Hanks, which Bob wanted to make for 20 years. He had this idea, but it was impossible to make it because of the technology and the time it would have taken, and the realism that he couldn't recreate before we enabled this technology came across, and we were able to do it. Also, in that, again, it comes to making things real time. We were running the ages of Tom Hanks and Robert Wright on the set, and Bob could direct the young actor. The DOP could light the young actor. The actors could see themselves in what we had, the youth mirror, to see how their current day 67-year-old face drives his 18-year-old face. So it was very immediate, and this happened in the last 6 months, 1 year, where before it would take 6 months before it even gets to post-production, and at that point you're guessing everything. So making everything real time and putting everything in the moment in the hands of, in this case, the filmmaker or the creator, this is a shift of that pulse that is extremely beneficial. But we obviously need to govern how far that pulse will move, right? Because arguably at some point the director is the last man standing when AI does all the rest.
Exactly. Brian, let's talk about things from a distribution perspective. When we look at this massive content boom that's happening, what do you think are the risks that could materially threaten it? And what could actually derail growth?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a variety of different things that could derail growth. I think at the policy level, I know the previous conversations have been a little bit around regulation. You're seeing an epic moment from the European Union trying to fine Elon Musk's X hundreds of millions of dollars. I would say that is a very real risk to these platforms, to distribution. On the other side, and I would say from a content creator or a media company IP owner side, the algorithm is the biggest risk. They are building businesses and distribution on rented land, and that land can get pulled from them at any given moment, whether it is an account ban, a suspension, shadow banning, you name it. So I'd say there's risks on both the higher level policy side, regulation, just be mindful of what to expect. Yes, and then from the creator IP owner, always making sure they're diversifying their distribution platforms and investing in their owned and operated. The social media platforms are fantastic for discovery, for top of funnel, but at any given moment that can be pulled from them for whoever's in the White House at that moment, or maybe it was just a glitch. And you've seen over the last few weeks there were countless amounts of YouTube channels just being blanket banned for whatever it might have been. And I think those are a lot of the risks that we're seeing out in the market today.
Absolutely, and they are significant risks, I would say.
100%.
Alex, you were telling me last week when we were chatting that most Synthesian users have never made a video before. I found that absolutely intriguing. Do you reckon that there's cheaper and faster production elements? Do they unlock more creativity, or do they just put way more undue pressure on originality that really isn't warranted?
Yeah, we actually asked a few weeks ago. We asked our users how to send us examples of how they're using Synthesia, and yes, there's definitely an element of making video cheaper and faster. But if you read the responses, and because I was very curious, I actually read through quite a lot of them. A lot of time it was about making content that they wouldn't be able to do before. So our platform is used inside larger companies primarily by people who used to make PowerPoint presentations. So they kind of switching away from PowerPoint presentations or PDFs or Word documents into making videos. And some of the stories, like in one example, there was this organization called the Pink Pearl Academy, and they're based in the US, and what they do is they teach adoptive parents how to communicate with the children that they support. And they used to do that through written resources. When you were thinking about becoming an adoptive parent, you would get like a pack at home with a bunch of written sort of guidelines of like, this is how, in case your child has these kind of like behavioral issues, this is how you
get the encyclopedia.
Yeah, essentially. And so they started using our platform, and they made these kind of interactive videos where you were shown a situation, and then you were asked like, how would you react in this situation as an adoptive parent? And then you would answer in the video, and then they would also give you advice. If you got the answer wrong, then you were able to kind of watch a video about here's actually what you should have done, and here's how to deal with this kind of challenging situation. And it's so, this relatively small organization would have never been able to do that type of content before. They were relying on these kind of written materials, but the problem was that a lot of parents didn't read those materials, and now with video, they have a way to actually learn that, before maybe it was kind of a bit more boring. So yeah, there's definitely it definitely unlocks more creativity, especially for people who are not video professionals.
That's absolutely amazing. That just covers all of those facets. It's not just about creating content or fields. It's actually things that are materially relevant to a person's life, which I think is just tremendous. Let's look at the whole the trust issue and legislation and where it's at. We touched on it earlier before. Do you think that synthetic talent is it's just a creative tool now? And if so, surely regulation must be coming from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to make the distinction between synthetic talent that replicates the likeness of actual talent of a human, and purely synthetic talent, right? Purely synthetic talent that becomes a tool. Fully virtual humans. Still, the ownership is an important consideration in both, and especially in the first category, the consent is a very important consideration. We've dealt with big movie stars and music artists on this issue, and especially in the early days, say starting 2020 or something like this. There was a lot of back and forth because we come from a model where, for example, the studio owns the digital human of that is deployed into a film, but that has rapidly shifted, especially because of the photorealism and the reality and the authenticity, to the talent itself owning their digital likeness, which is extremely important, and which is how it should be, right? And then we extrapolate that to. We are now on a journey to make these synthetic humans for all of us, and that ownership, that consent, needs to be built into the platforms as a first the citizen, right? So, but the purely synthetic talent, I think that is probably a bit TBD, but it's mostly where the data originates from, and how the platform embraces the data, and how it's being pivoted into the generation. So that's that, which again comes up to the platform, to the model, to the pipeline, to everybody involved in the creation of it.
Set. I have a quick example. So we started on our platform. We used to have originally only AI avatars of real people. And this was based on actors that we had worked with and kind of paid for their likeness to build the avatar. And very recently, we started introducing synthetic likenesses. So these are likenesses based on purely AI-generated likenesses. And when I was speaking with the actors who are on our platform, they actually welcomed this. And the reason why they welcomed this was they said, myself as an actor, someone's using my likeness to produce some content, which is fine, because obviously that's why I work with you. But then what we wanted to offer was the ability to kind of customize a peers. So, for example, if you're making a video about health and safety in the warehouse, you might want to wear sort of like gear to reflect that you're in a warehouse. And then the actors was like, okay, I think for us, when you start kind of altering our appearance, that's kind of a red line. So we would prefer that you don't do that. But it was still something that our customers were asking for. So we said, okay, when it comes to the real actors, you can't change their appearance. What you see is what you get. But with these new kind of synthetic actors, because the technology enables you to do that, all of a sudden you have these kind of like positive use cases while making sort of the real actors happy that you're not changing the way they look, basically.
You get to jump in there, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think, from somebody that comes at this, again, from a media and entertainment standpoint, I think, we've seen these caricatures and other kind of, created versions of an avatar, and especially in the cartoon and animation world for quite a while. And I think a lot of the tools that the folks up here on the panel are building can help, fuel that growth in the future. But I also keep coming back to just that really, the trust. The single most important thing that a content creator or media company has is that trust with their audience. So, if I'm an actor and you're going into this world where you're going to sign over the rights to allow your likeness to be used in a way that, can make you say things that you never said you were going to say, it's a dangerous slope, because God forbid, you sign a deal with somebody that you don't totally understand what you're going to be used for, and then your face is being used in a situation that you never could imagine. So I'd say it's a very careful line to be considering. However, if you're using these, digital avatars for something that is like an HR training or something that's much more not important to, really have a close trust relationship, I think there's a lot more opportunity there. But I get really worried, especially on the deep fake side, because then that's where I think you'll see, and I hope the platforms come at this much more aggressively with, making sure there's clear watermarks and badges that this content has been AI altered. And again, you're already starting to see that across a lot of platforms, whether that be YouTube or Instagram, where every, video that you upload, you have to mention, has this been AI altered or not? And it presents the content creator with that choice. And then one other thing I would just say is on the, AI avatar side is, do audiences want it, versus just hiring a human to say it? I think you're chipping away at the thing that video has, which is video is video is an empathy machine. And you're really trying to chisel away at that, which I think, hire the human. What's wrong with that,
But just picking on the trust, it's trust is consent, right? Like I mean, we've dealt with it. Honestly, they're celebrities, so it's under very, very high scrutiny. But just the platform we're building, it needs almost an identity level control. The fingerprints that you and only you can have your likeness say and do things. And everything should always loop through the human before it can be released anywhere. And it's a slippery slope when you start farming out your identity to in this type of. So obviously, there's always bad actors, as you say. That's a different story.
And there's still humans behind every synthetic avatar right now. There's still a human that is creating that thing, whether they let that thing go on autopilot or not. There's still a human. Programming what needs to go into it.
Do you think there's also a risk that, because for content creators, obviously, the name of the game is finding a point of difference in order to be truly effective. And if it's this sort of ubiquitous black kit of, synthetic content, then how do creators stop their work from, losing all the look and feel?
It's funny you say that because there's been this ongoing dialogue as somebody from New York. There's this concept that algorithms have been flattening culture where, when everybody is seeing the same thing and everybody wants to come to New York to shop at the same store, what is culture anymore? And I think it is something that not only the creators have to worry about, I would really put that also on the audience. Stuff like if everybody is consuming the same content, what is unique anymore, right? And I think that is ultimately whenever we see these kind of constraints, in media or in culture, it always has a moment of that subcultures then really emerge. And I think, not to use the broader analogy of bundling and unbundling, but I think you see a similar concept when culture can become a little flat. You're seeing AI vibe coding emerge a lot. When people are putting landing pages together, they all look the same. You have to make it look different. And I think, while creators can create this stuff easily now, the audiences are going to demand a lot more nuance, a lot more taste. And I think taste is going to become ever more important in the future from a content creator or anybody looking to build an audience around them.
It's for me, it's the intent and the soul that goes into the content, right? If you can retain that, then the technology makes it transformative and amplifies human creations. If you don't, it just becomes noise. But it's not the first time we see that. I'm sure there is a trillion of songs on Spotify, but there's only 0.1% that everybody listens to. So I think intent and soul and creativity and talent will emerge, and we haven't seen that captured yet in the networks, but who knows?
And there's AI music that is going viral on TikTok, and every single TikTok that uses that voice they're getting screamed at in the comments. Like, come on, stop allowing AI music. Like, put an artist, put a real person behind it to benefit from the proceeds from that it can create. So I think we'll see that tension, and ultimately, again, audiences are going to vote with their intention.
And Alex, we spoke a little bit earlier on about, regulatory frameworks that need to be put into place in order to protect people. What do you think are the editorial safeguards that needs to be there to protect the trust of the public?
Well, so we made some decisions when we started the company to kind of really focus on enterprise, and as a result, we were very clear that we don't want to go in this kind of like creative entertainment space, and then we built these kind of content moderation policies. So, for example, you can't make news content or political content on our platform, and then we have some very kind of strict restrictions in terms of some other type of content you can make. So I think we took that decision because there are these areas where, to Brian's point, trust and taste are really important. When you try to if you try to flood that with sort of cheap content, if you like, whether it's AI generated or not, we just don't think there's like a business model. So I think for us, it was like the business model influence, and obviously kind of doing the right thing influenced that decision. But years later, I think now we've kind of been proven to be right. So I think it's just kind of working from backwards from like what are you trying to do in terms of your business you're running, and then making kind of those decisions pretty early on. And that's that worked for us.
We are in our last minute, gentlemen, and I wanted to ask each of you, very briefly, to for the final thought as to what will determine whether the next content boom is truly transformative or just completely exhausting and overwhelming.
It's both. It's both. We're seeing it right now with AI videos, right? We just spoke about this. It's like, it's exhausting, but it's also exciting to turn a family photo into something that's ridiculous, right? And I think it is both of those.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's happening. The noise will be there. It always is, and the kind of gems will come up and be what is producing. But I think it is amplifying human creativity. That's for sure. So I think that's the finding. Right?
Last word to you, Alex.
I think for me, it's like a huge opportunity is in personalized learning. I think if you ask everyone on the stage, the way they learn is like very different. We learn very differently from each other, and kind of using video to build these kind of like personalized learning opportunities is a huge opportunity that I think currently is pretty much untapped. We talk a lot about like the creative industry and kind of applications there, but there's like this, in my view, this kind of very big market for personalized learning that could be explored.
It's rare to hear the future of media spoken about so honestly and with such practicality. Gentlemen, I thank you very much indeed for being with us
Thank you.
today. Please thank my panel.
Thank you.